The Israeli government is one of the most vocal opponents of the deal. Daniel Taub, the Israeli ambassador to the UK, is here. Why is your Prime Minister saying the Iranians have clearly given up nothing when they clearly have?
We're very, very concerned about this deal. I mean, the fact is what we are being presented with is a deal that doesn't require Iran to dismantle a single one of its centrifuges, not even the most advanced ones. It doesn't require it to dismantle a single aspect of its military program, doesn't require it to dismantle a single aspect of the plutonium reactor. You know, there were 10,000 centrifuges spinning the day before this agreement. They're going to be spinning the day after this agreement. It gives us very serious cause for concern.
But the question of the amount of enriched uranium, the level to which it is enriched, the development of the heavy water plant, these sort of things, they are concessions by the Iranians, aren't they?
I don't think we see here concessions of the nature that convince us that in 6 months' time we're going to be further away from a nuclear weapon.
It is not true, as your Prime Minister claims, that they have given up nothing. They clearly have given something up.
On balance, this is an agreement, and you saw the people cheering in the street, you know, when the negotiators came home, and that really does raise questions. Why is it that such major concessions are regarded as such a big victory by the Iranian people?
Everybody's cheering. The negotiators are cheering. The politicians who return to the West are being greeted with some enthusiasm. Maybe people want to avoid confrontation.
First of all, maybe people do want to avoid confrontation, and perhaps there's a risk in that because, you know, as you get closer to our region, then you see that the concern rises because, you know, in our region, not just Israel, but many of our neighbors as well, and we don't often agree. You know, we are thinking not only about what Iran might do in the future, but we're looking at what they're actually doing today. They're supporting Hezbollah, they're spreading terror, they're helping Assad butcher his own civilians, and we're thinking about, is this the kind of radical regime that we want to get?
Weapons.
The question isn't whether they're making concessions. The question is, are we on track to stop Iran from getting a nuclear bomb? That is what Britain has said it's committed to, that's what the United States is committed to, and that's what we want to see happen.
So you don't think this deal can last?
The question isn't whether this particular deal can last. The question is, are arrangements in place to stop Iran becoming a nuclear power, not to stop it becoming a nuclear, to having a nuclear bomb? That's what we want to see happen. We're in full agreement.
So what would have satisfied you then?
At the moment, what we want to see is an agreement or an arrangement that moves us towards that. It makes it quite clear we want to see an arrangement that stops Iran from having the capacity to develop a nuclear weapon. That means actually dismantling the infrastructure. The trouble with this agreement is really the entire machinery. The entire machinery remains in place.
So the rest of the world appears to be misguided. You're the only ones who are right. Has it occurred to you that perhaps that the reason the Americans went behind your back and had private talks with the Iranians, an unprecedented event more or less, that might be because they recognise too that you're the problem here?
The fact is there can definitely be differences of opinion here, but I certainly think that the closer you get to the region, the more reason we have for concern. And yes, our attention is focused on this. You know, we are the ones that actually do hear, you know, the Supreme Leader calling for our destruction. Just this week, the Supreme Leader described us as being a rabid dog that is destined for destruction, and maybe that does focus our attention. But at the end of the day, we want exactly the same thing that the United States wants, that the government of Britain wants, and that is to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons.
This team that you're sending to Washington,
yes,
what's their mission?
Their mission is to make sure that we and the United States are coordinated in achieving the goal that we have in common.
You're clearly not at present.
At the moment, we do seem to have a difference on the question of whether this is a deal that takes us 2 steps forwards. We're not sure that it does. So we need to work together to make sure that at the end of this deal, we're going to be a situation that makes us...
You didn't know what the United States was discussing with Iran.
I'm not going to talk about what we knew or what we didn't know. What we know at the moment is that we have a common goal and we have to work together to make it happen.
Do you think that you can persuade the Americans this is a deal not worth continuing with?
I don't think that is our goal. Our goal is not to try to undermine something. Our goal is to work together to get something that actually works. You know, the fact is, we are concerned. We're concerned because, you know, everything, or pretty much everything that we know about the nuclear program in Iran today is something that was hidden from the West for years by Iran. The fact is, we only know about Fordo, we only know about Natanz, precisely because these things were discovered. We are concerned about going into a process without our eyes being very wide open.
Of course, we don't know a great deal about the Israeli nuclear program, do we?
What we know is that this is a process that hasn't changed for decades. It hasn't threatened anybody else in the region. It hasn't stopped our neighbors from trying to attack us again and again. And that's a very, very different situation to a situation like the situation with Iran, a country which at the moment is arming terrorists, is threatening to wipe neighbors off the map. And of course, this is not an Israeli demand. What we're talking about is a demand which comes from the United Nations, 6 United Nations Security Council resolutions. That's really what we would like to see implemented.
Ambassador, thank you.
Not at all.